guys, and welcome back to the Motor Recon podcast. I'm your host, Adam. I'm joined again by Rob. Today we've got a little bit of a special because we're going to be talking about SUVs and how we feel that they're sort of taking over a bit from regular cars. Also going to sort of discuss the more high-end premium versions of it and why these sports manufacturers are making SUVs.
Yeah, this is something that we've noticed sort of in the budget end of the car world, sort of to begin with, maybe you'd say. So obviously,
yeah,
when you're around town, as I'm sure often you guys often are, you'll notice that you do see a lot of SUVs around now. So plenty of sort of your standard car manufacturers are making those.
Everybody and the mum's got one.
Exactly.
Like, so, yeah.
Most sort of major car manufacturers offer an SUV sort of version of a car or whatever that you're able to buy. But this is a trend that has also bled into the premium car market as well, which is something I find particularly fascinating.
I do, and I also find it a little bit of a shame. Now, I know why they are doing this, and it is purely for money. Because SUVs are selling, these the richer end of the market, sort of, who wouldn't normally go out and buy, say, like your Nissan Qashqais or your Ford Cougars or anything like that. They are buying, as you say, supercars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches, anything like that. And they're thinking, well, I want a car for the daily stuff, like taking my kids to school or going to work or things like that. But I want a more premium one.
Yeah.
And these manufacturers are going out there and they're selling to the market that is available.
I'm sort of with you. Obviously, it is a little bit of a shame in some respects. You can argue that it potentially dilutes the brand of sports car manufacturers.
Yeah.
But I also understand that need to develop cars. It is an expensive venture.
Yeah.
So you need a way to make that money.
Yeah.
So
I think as well, what it is probably interesting to know is what, like, a little bit, the Porsche Cayenne, which we'll come on to in a second, that saved Porsche.
Yeah.
In a way. Because they weren't doing so great financially until the Cayenne came out. And as soon as that came out, boom, sales flew through the roof, money started coming back through. It worked.
We were thinking that as far as sports car manufacturers making SUVs were concerned, we both sort of tend to agree that the Cayenne is probably the epicenter for that.
Yeah. Now, we are obviously aware that there is older ones than that, like the, say, the Lamborghini LM002 as a sports car manufacturer making an SUV. But the Cayenne is definitely where sort of this mass market trend
the modern
began,
renaissance of it.
Yeah. So I think that's where it all began to make it a more mass market product.
Yeah.
And selling, which it is. So we have actually got a couple of the stats up on screen just about the Cayenne. Obviously, this is the new one. Just for clarity, we are looking at the Turbo.
Yes.
The Cayenne Turbo. So at the moment, I'll just specify as well that this is a car that is by far the cheapest that we're going to be looking at today. So we'll cover that again. But so it's 500 horsepower, 3.9 seconds to 62, 177 miles an hour, and that is quite good. I can't deny it. For an SUV, 3.9 seconds to 60 is not bad.
To be fair, the 3.9 second sprint time, though, is with the sports chrono package fitted. So I don't know how much more on top of that is concerned. But even the standard one without that package of 4.1 seconds isn't exactly sluggish.
No, you can't really knock it for that.
It's more than enough to make the kids vomit.
I'm guessing it's over a 2-ton car as well. It doesn't specify weight here, but I'm guessing it's over 2 tons.
I would imagine all of the cars we're looking at probably come in at quite a substantial weight.
Yeah.
I think as far as design is concerned for the Porsche sort of Cayenne, I think like the Panamera, it's got better over time.
I will agree. As you know, I am not the biggest Porsche fan in the world in terms of design. I really didn't like the first Cayenne. I really didn't like the first Panamera.
Yeah.
But now, like you say, they've evolved a little bit. They've come on. They're a bit more. I think they've got into the styling swing of making a sports car into an SUV.
Yeah.
And it does work. I think it does work in terms of proportions and size and things like that now.
I think as far as styling is concerned, I think that sort of the mentality that it sort of exhumes is you're turning a sports car into an SUV, not an SUV into a sports car.
Yeah, and I think that is the mentality they was trying to go by.
Yeah. Now, me personally, the argument I often have with a lot of the cars that we're going to be looking at over today is if there is some sort of saloon / sort of 4-door sort of saloon style.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like the Panamera for this.
Exactly. Yeah. I would, if it was me and it was my money, I would probably want to go for the Panamera. It keeps more of those sporting credentials. You might argue it's also more faithful to Porsche's brand as a whole, as a sports car manufacturer.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
And I think, obviously, everybody can do what they like with their own money, but for me personally,
I wouldn't buy it. Yeah,
I would go for the Panamera.
Yeah. Now, I think I'm in the same boat with you here.
Yeah.
I actually don't mind certain SUVs, mainly just the Range Rover, just because I think it is a much more capable off-road thing, which I think is the point of these cars. But most of the people who buy them, they're not going to go off-road. They're no more spacious than the sort of estate / four-door versions of the cars.
Yeah.
They're just higher up, which I think the only benefit is you get the nice high driving position, which I know a lot of people do enjoy.
Yeah.
But again, me personally, I wouldn't go for that.
Yeah, that's true. I know that obviously quite a lot of people enjoy that high position, sort of a better view of the road, things like that. And I also understand that with kids, I imagine having the seats just that bit higher up makes life a little bit more just a little bit easier. But yeah, I suppose that's not something that's ever particularly bothered me, to be honest.
No.
That being said, I don't have kids, so I can't really comment on that front. So
no. Now, interestingly enough, the one thing I will actually say to this, the three main cars, I'm going to do a bit of a side one, but the three main cars are very similar, and they're all on the same sort of platform because they're all part of VAG, that Volkswagen Auto Group.
Yeah.
Now, the next one we're going to look at is probably the obvious one, which is the Urus.
Yeah.
From Lamborghini. Bit of a controversial car when it launched, I think, but a lot of people were saying it's Lamborghini arcing back to the LM002. But then again, it's very Audi.
Lamborghini do have precedence in this field, to be fair, as you say. This isn't something that they are entirely new to.
No.
And I think the styling is... Well, they've definitely stuck to sort of Lamborghini's styling brief.
Yeah, it's got the same sort of bonnet front end as the Huracan. It's got the points around the front. It is a very angular, aggressive-looking design.
I think if you debadged it, someone could... Well, as you say, if no one had ever seen the car before and you brought it out debadged and you asked which sports car manufacturer made it, I think you could certainly go with
They'd know.
Lamborghini.
They'd know it was a Lamborghini. Yeah, they'd know. And I kind of respect it for that. They haven't gone down that route, but it's the same platform as the Q8.
Yes,
which is I know they've done it for cost saving. They're all part of the same group, and again, these are all a money making scheme. So I understand why they've done it. It would have been nice for them to develop their own, but one thing they do have is the engine.
Yes,
which obviously they're going to make it more powerful. It has to be. It's a Lamborghini. You're not going to pay a huge premium when you could get a Q8 that's the same speed.
Q8's a more sensible option as well. You might argue, as in it's a little bit less overstated as far as the looks are concerned.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. But in terms of tech and everything that's in it, majority of it is the same. I like the screens and things, and the Lamborghini just gets all its like extra sports modes and Strada modes and and the like, and an off-road mode, which obviously the Lamborghinis don't have.
Yeah.
But so do you want to go through a few of the stats on the car?
Sure, yeah. So the Lamborghini Urus has a V8 bi-turbo, maximum output of 650 horsepower, so it's a big step up over the Cayenne.
150 horsepower.
Price is also a big step up over the Cayenne. Obviously four-wheel drive, and that sort of helps you with the off-road sort of capabilities of the car. And the Strada Sport mode, which obviously gives you options. For how you want to drive it.
For how you want to drive it.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, with the Urus, I was actually most of you guys who are listening probably heard of him. He's called Rana. He's a huge guy in the car world on Instagram. Never shows his face, obviously, unless you've seen him in person. But he has a collection of Lamborghinis and Ferraris and things like that. And he has a Urus.
Right.
And he says on a mountain, he obviously has Huracans and Perth Mountain and everything as well. He says on a mountain road, a Huracan will not see which way this has gone.
That's interesting.
And this is coming from a guy who actually owns the cars, drives them on mountain roads around the top of Monaco and in Switzerland very frequently.
Not to mention, obviously the Huracan has the V10 engine still, doesn't it?
It does.
What's the power output? Is the power output comparable?
It's similar. Obviously, it's a lot lighter. I don't know the exact weight, but it's a lot lighter. The power output is similar-ish. It's like 10 to 15 horsepower difference.
Maybe it's because the Urus is more sort of sure-footed.
Well, I think that is the sort of point he was trying to get across. Is that he was saying like it is a bit more planted on the road. Even though you'd think the Huracan's four-wheel drive, unless you get obviously there is a rear-wheel drive option.
Yeah.
So you'd think it'd be the same.
No, but I do understand that argument for, as you say, I think with the sort of like the proper permanent four-wheel drive system, which obviously is designed to deal with some minor off-roading.
Very minor.
As you say, if you get it onto a B road that is particularly greasy or it's particularly cold and frosty, I do imagine the Urus would be a little bit better at handling those real-world conditions.
It would. You've got the ground clearance and everything as well.
Yeah.
Again, for me personally, I would obviously get the Huracan over this.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you remember, a few years back, Lamborghini did do a concept of a four-door sort of saloon car.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know what it was called, I can't remember for the life of me, but that was an amazing looking thing. And if they make that, which, looking at the way they're going, they might base it off a Panamera platform. If they ever do make it. And I think that'll
I think that styling translated into a car which, say, so for example, spiritually is similar to the Aston Martin
Rapide.
Yes, the Aston Martin Rapide.
Got a mind blank there.
Yeah, obviously the Rapide is now an all-electric car, and they think it's only the AMR one now that actually is the last bastion of the 6-litre V12.
Yeah.
Sort of. But I think, so if you take the Urus and you sort of create a car which is similar in sort of design brief to the Aston Martin Rapide, you're going to end up with something pretty spectacular.
It will sell as well.
That's it. Oh God, yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah. Mind you though, the Urus is an extremely popular car now. Yeah. I don't think they can build them fast enough for what the orders are coming through. Lamborghini haven't had the problem of sales like some of the other manufacturers have had in the modern times, like especially since from the era of the Gallardo.
Yeah.
Their sales have been through the roof, especially with the Aventador has sold thousands. If you go anywhere, like London, any city basically, and it's Lamborghinis, it's going to be an Aventador. Go to any car show, it's full of Aventadors.
Interestingly, I don't think the Urus has done anything to particularly dilute the Lamborghini brand as such, because to be fair, although it is an SUV, until very recently, it was the fastest SUV in the world.
Yeah, so we'll come on to the next one in a second, but yeah, up until very recently, it was the fastest SUV in the world.
Yeah.
Again, on acceleration-wise, a Tesla Model X would beat it to a certain point, but obviously, with a combustion engine, that'll just fly by.
But obviously, and I imagine that it's probably a bit lighter than the Model X as well. So
yeah, I don't know why, but yeah, the batteries are quite heavy. But then again, so is a twin turbo V8. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll move on to the next one, which is actually the latest in the line here, other than the one we'll come on to next. But this has just been released. It's the Bentley Bentayga Speed. This is the one that has actually just beaten the Urus in terms of top speed for the fastest SUV by 0.5 mile an hour.
Yeah, it's the slimmest of margins here, yeah.
Yeah, but it is a top speed of 190 miles an hour and 0 to 62 in 3.6 seconds.
And that is impressive when you consider it's a big hulk of metal to shift along, isn't it?
It is. Now, again, I don't have any exact weight figures, but I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say the Bentayga is going to be the heaviest of this lot. Without any question.
It looks it.
Yeah, but without any question, this is going to be the heaviest one.
Yeah.
Just because of the interior mainly.
And not to mention the 6-litre W12 as well.
Yeah, which we should mention is pushing out 626 brake horsepower in the Speed one, so it's an increase of 26 over the standard car.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing where it comes up is obviously torque. It has remained the same, but it is 664 pounds-feet of torque.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. And it is a huge car. I
respect the fact that obviously in the modern climate of cars, and obviously with the constant drive to reduce emissions and sort of the downsizing of internal combustion engine, it's impressive that the Bentley Bentayga is still rolling out the factory with a 6-litre W12.
Yeah, and I imagine over the years it has been refined, but it's still not going to be obviously an economical Greenpeace lover's car, is it?
No, I can't imagine it will be.
No, but one thing I will say about this, and I think you'll probably agree with me, more so than the others, this definitely does not dilute the Bentley brand. Because Bentley is not what you'd consider a supercar maker.
Yes.
They are a luxury car maker, but obviously they do have the racing heritage, which is where these speed models sort of obviously get their derived from. But they've never made what you'd consider a supercar. They've always been luxury. I know they've had the racing cars in the past and things like that, but they are luxury cars.
No, I would certainly agree. When you think of Bentley, you don't think of a supercar manufacturer.
No.
You think of an extremely fast intercontinental sort of cruising machine, don't you?
Basically a ballistic missile for the motorway.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's what it does.
And as I say, I think one of the major sort of components that helps the Bentayga keep itself to the spirit of Bentley is that W12.
Yeah, definitely.
That certainly helps, because when you think of Bentley, you do think of massive capacity.
Yeah, well, the old Bentley blowers and things like that and whatnot. Yeah, and that thing in British Racing, I've seen one in British Racing Green, not the Speed, but the normal one.
Yeah,
and I think it does actually look. It's hideous. Well, this is obviously my own opinion, but I think it's hideous.
Yeah.
But in British Racing Green, with a creamer interior, I thought it started to grow on me.
Yeah, I mean, do I hate it? No, not particularly. But any day of the week, I'd be taking a Continental.
Oh, 100%.
And I tell you what, Bentley's another one, considering the Panamera is made by a company that's obviously in collaboration with Bentley.
Yeah, this same company. Well, I think, I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm pretty sure this, again, does share the same platform as the others.
Well, as you say, with the Panamera being with Porsche, I think Bentley certainly have a potential opportunity to build a four-door saloon style car. Well, with similar stylings to the Continental.
It's as you say that, it's literally just been announced yesterday.
Really?
They already did it. There was the Flying Spur.
Oh, sorry, of course they did. Yeah.
They have had the Flying Spur in the past, which is the four-door version of the Continental, but the new one has literally just been announced the other day.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's pretty much the same stats as the Continental in terms of power, speed, and whatnot. But obviously, it's just got the saloon boot. Again, like the same as the old Flying Spur, I don't think it's a very good-looking car from the back.
No, but okay, yeah. But that being said, I think once it reaches production model with the right colour,
it's got to see how people spec it. I think that's what it'll come down to. My mum's boss actually has the old Flying Spur.
Yeah.
And he's got it in sort of I don't know what the actual colour is, but it's like a very between a silvery, browny, creamy. I can't describe it to you in the best way, but it's like a really, really, really light gold.
Okay.
A virgin on silver.
Yeah.
And that doesn't look so bad apart from the back end, but the back end on the new one has improved hugely.
Great.
So, which is not a bad thing.
Well, then for me, obviously, I would certainly be taking a Flying Spur over a Bentayga without question.
Yeah. And they will probably do a speed version of that again, like they did with the last one, and it will hit 200 miles an hour.
Well, yeah.
If this does 100,
one would hope.
Yeah, if this does 190, a much lighter, smaller, lower car with the same power is going to touch 200. I'm guessing. Not speculating, but I'm just guessing. So, shall we talk about the one that's not actually out yet? This is due to launch in the Q4 of 2019, which is the Aston Martin's new DBX.
Yeah.
Obviously, we haven't seen any official photos of the car without camo on it.
No.
Or the sort of the design thing. I've seen renders of it, and I did send it you the other day, actually, in the group chat. Obviously, with the sort of the DB11 raised front end and the back end of the... I suppose it kind of looked a bit like the back end of a DB11 again, but raised up. I don't think it's going to look like that from this design. I think they've got the headlights from the Vantage.
Yeah.
Just looking at the picture of it, we should stress we've got it up on screen here. The headlights of it, I think, are going to be pure Vantage.
Yeah, I honestly think that there will be a bit of a change, obviously, when the camo comes off. Otherwise, what's the point in putting the camo on in the first place?
Yeah.
So I think that, obviously, what we're seeing up on the screen right now isn't the finished product. We were speculating as to potentially what sort of engine could be in there. And I think we settled on the
V8.
AMG V8, didn't we?
Yeah, I think it's going to go with V8. They've got the partnership with AMG, so it would make sense to utilise on that.
Yeah.
Like you said, the Urus is a V8. The Bentayga, I think, has an option for a V8.
And obviously the KN.
And the KN is I think that is a V8 as well. So it would make sense logically for this to have a V8.
Especially when you look at sort of Aston Martin's engine lineup at the moment, with either the 5.2 litre V12 or the sort of 4 litre in the V8. 4 litre V8 from AMG, you would argue that Yeah, it makes more sense to stick the V8 in on launch. Potentially, they'll put the V12 in.
I'm going to say they might offer both.
There's nothing to stop
because
that, is there?
There's already speculation, and it does stand to reason that they're going to put the V12 in the Vantage as well.
Yeah, well, that certainly would, considering that the V12 Vantage from the previous generation is one of the most beloved cars that I think Aston Martin's put out as far as what people like.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think with this one, there is scope to do it, because if they do put the V12 in it, they can go straight up against the V12 Bentayga, well, the W12 Bentayga.
Yeah.
And Ferrari have already confirmed they're going to make an SUV.
Okay.
And I suspect that'll follow the lines of the GTC4 Lusso, that has a V8 and a V12. So why would the Ferrari SUV not have a V8 and a V12? Or go on the hybrid route.
Well, that's the other thing I was going to say about the DBX. Obviously, the Rapide has now gone down the fully electric route.
Yeah.
So there is a potential scope for Aston Martin to make a DBX that is fully electric, to take on someone like the Tesla. Obviously, the Tesla Model X, it could certainly take them on, or maybe not on price, but some of their customers may be able to sort of afford up to a DBX.
Well, yeah, I don't think this will be as expensive as people think. Because the Urus wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be in terms of price. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but when I actually heard it, I was like, oh, actually, no, it's not that bad. For a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, I don't know any prices. I can't see any on the Aston Martin website as even a speculation. But I'm going to guess around 150.
If that was the case, I wouldn't be... Obviously, it's a huge amount of money, but I wouldn't be complaining.
No,
I mean, at the end of the day, they do have to make it sort of competitive with a Urus.
It's a premium brand.
Yeah.
You're paying for the premium brand. And obviously, they are handmade in the most part. Like, the interiors are hand-stitched and everything. So you are paying for that.
Well, you're paying for quality, sure, yeah. And craftsmanship as well.
Yeah, which... you don't get obviously in the more low-end cars, which are just obviously thrown together on a mass production line. Yeah. I know these are, but everything is handmade inside pretty much. So for me, I'm excited to see what it's going to look like.
Yeah, very excited to see what it looks like when the camo's off.
I also don't know if it'll be able to go off-road. It probably won't be as good off-road, but I'm not going to speculate until I've seen anything actually happen with it.
Do you think this dilutes sort of Aston Martin's brand then?
This is coming from a company that's done the Signet.
Yes.
So I'm guessing no. But again, Aston Martin, while they are obviously fast luxury cars, I think they are more a rival for Bentley than they are... they are going down another extreme now with obviously these sort of the Valkyries and the new Vanquish style car.
Yeah, sure, they've certainly got themselves into the hypercar ring in a big way.
But previously, obviously, with the Vanquish and the DB9 and the DB11 currently and things like that.
And historically speaking as well.
Yeah, they've had a lot of race cars, but I think they are more a rival for Bentley than they are for Ferrari, Lamborghini and Porsche.
I think you're right
Porsche
on that
maybe
one.
so.
I think their edge over Bentley is they can sort of say, well, we're offering you sort of the majority of what Bentley might give you with sort of like the huge speed and comfort, but we're bringing you closer. So it's more of a sporting edge.
Yeah, I think I would class Aston Martins as sports cars rather than supercars.
Yeah, and I think also
until they come out with obviously the new Vanquish and the Valkyries and whatnot.
And I don't necessarily see the DBX sort of diluting the brand, as you say, with the Signet already being out and about. I suppose, and that didn't seem to do Aston any damage as far as their brand was concerned.
They actually sold quite a few, and you still see a lot of them knocking around London.
They're a cool novelty.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, the people that bought them, I think obviously like they lived in, most of them I've seen that they were all sold in London.
Yeah.
It's a small tiny city car with a congestion charge.
Yeah.
And you can park it easily because parking's a nightmare in London. Kind of makes sense, but if you've got a lot of money to spend and you want a bit of a badge, get the Aston Martin version.
As you say, when we were in Monaco, we saw an awful lot of the Brabus smart cars.
Yeah, so there is
similar sort.
Yeah, there is a market there for the big badge small cars.
Yeah.
In these little places, and it makes. Like I say, the only place I've seen them is London.
But as you said, you've got to be careful though, because if you start making too many normal style cars, you will lose the brand that...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They rely on each other. Sort of like things like the Signet rely on Aston Martin producing good sports cars so that the brand carries weight on the Signet.
Yeah. Well, the only reason they did the Signet is because of the silly new EU rules where they had to have an average emissions across their entire range.
Yeah.
Which obviously nobody else had the problem because they were all part of VW Group or BMW or another company.
Sure, yeah, they had something else.
So they had like Fiestas and Polos and things to bring that down, whereas Aston Martin at the time were on their own. Well, still kind of are. They've got the partnership with AMG, but they are still sort of on their own.
Well, then it's certainly
Chinese
good.
now.
Well, I mean, it's certainly good that they're now sort of diversifying their brand out. Then,
yeah,
obviously, it means that it gives them that protection towards the future, and fair enough then.
And I think as well, I know they've had a lot of investment recently, but this I think will bring more money back into the company, so they can, like you say, reinvest it into the projects like the Valkyrie and like the new Vanquish.
And I think that's the important thing that we should try and consider when it comes to sort of supercar and sports car manufacturers making these SUVs. At the end of the day, they bring in the money so that these manufacturers can continue to invest in these supercars and sports cars that we all love and we want to see into the future.
Yeah.
And if that's what they need to do to bring that money in, then fair enough.
And like I say, most of the customers who are buying these will have other cars from that brand anyway.
Yeah.
So they still, I know why they're doing it. I personally obviously wouldn't buy one over the normal cars, but I get it from their point of view.
It's understandable, isn't it? Yeah.
So we'll finish that topic off there because I think we have discussed that enough now. I think I'd love to see what you guys want to say about that. Obviously, if you want to contact us, get in touch. All the links are below in the description to Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and the like. So we'll just quickly move on to our last topic of the day, which is actually car brands that we'd like to see come back.
Yeah.
They've gone but not forgotten, I think would be the best way to describe that.
I would agree. And I think one of the ones I definitely want to kick off on, and I know technically they're not gone, which half of me wishes they were, frankly.
Yeah, for the state, I know where you're going with this. It's Lancia, isn't it?
It's Lancia.
Yeah.
And I want them back in earnest.
Yeah.
I want them back, as in, let's get them back into rally.
Yeah. Because, now I say that obviously they technically are not gone, but you wish they were.
That's the thing, isn't it? No one talks about Lancia, at least not in the UK.
No, you do see a lot of them in Italy, and I think in France I've seen quite a few of them knocking about, but they are, I think, part of now the Fiat group.
Yes.
So it's essentially, I can't remember what the Fiat was called. I hated it so much I didn't even bother to learn the name. But it was like a weird looking people carrier kind of thing. I think, was it a Bravia or something? Fiat Bravia? I don't know.
That sounds terrible. But
it was absolutely hideous. But Lancia rebadged that as a Lancia. They also did a tiny, tiny little car, which I think was based on a Punto with a different...
Yes. Now, we did see a couple of those in
Britain. Yeah. Again, hideous.
Yeah. Not great.
You kind of wish they weren't around because you wouldn't have to see that. But yeah, I agree with you. Get them back in it. Get them making stuff like they did with the Stratos and the Delta and the...
But there is the thing is, there is potential to make money there.
There is, and I think they should do it just for the nostalgia basis of the older customers, the nostalgia stuff.
I genuinely do think there is potential to make money on Lancia coming back to the forefront so you can start them out on relatively small run cars that maybe compete in WRC or whatever. Yeah. I don't know, maybe...
Well, they could compete in the rallycross to start out with against, like you say, the Polos, the Fiestas,
exactly.
Things like making the smaller car.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you would certainly be able to sell them because petrolheads have never forgotten.
No.
And I think that Lancia, despite its recent sort of woes, I think the brand still holds that nostalgic value.
Oh, definitely.
A lot of us would.
I still get excited when I see like a Delta Integrale or something like that. I think it's a great looking car, and I know a lot of like my dad's generation, well, our parents' generation, they loved them.
And yeah, and if they produced a decent Lancia today and it would look quite pretty and it wasn't potentially a disaster to maintain.
In fact, actually, do you know what they should do? Because they are all technically under the same umbrella. Is get down what Alfa have done. Alfa have really revived themselves recently with a lot of their newer cars, like the Giulia and everything, and 4Cs and whatnot. Do that. You're part of the same umbrella, so you could use some of the same parts. You could get that. You could get that Alfa engine in it and things like that, and build a platform and just get it back up.
I have quite a wacky idea for this one.
Go on.
So obviously the Alfa Mitor's disappearing soon.
Ooh, yeah.
So I think there's a good gap to sort of slide in a new sort of Lancia. Mitor size, fall onto your Fiat resources, so maybe use some parts from a Fiat 500 or something like that, get it into rallycross.
Yeah, you could use a Bath engines in it, things like that.
Bang, bush, you got yourself a new Delta.
Yeah. I think they should.
You know,
they actually should. Yeah. If you're listening, Lancia, I know you're not, but if you are listening, do this.
Yeah, please. It would make my day.
Yeah. Another one, actually, what I was thinking of earlier when we discussed this topic, one I'd like to see come back. Now, I don't even think this has been around in our lifetime, but Triumph.
Oh God, yeah. Obviously, they still make motorcycles.
Yeah, they are still around in that form.
Yeah.
But making cars. They used to make some amazing looking cars. The TR5s, 4s, 3s, 6s, 7s, you name it. And the Spitfire and things like that. They were all really good looking.
Triumph Stag has one of my favourite cars just for the name alone. And obviously it had the nice sort of like a T-top style roof down the middle.
Yeah. It was a cracking looking little car.
Ace. And the Spitfire looked fantastic.
Yeah. It was my dad's first car was a little red Spitfire. I think that's how he got my mum. It probably was. Back then, that was a cool little car. And it was his first car when you're 17 rocking around in a Spitfire.
I think the thing that obviously has brought this into the sort of forefront of our minds is obviously TVR trying to make another go of it.
Yes, this is what we were talking about the other week. I thought that'd be something we thought about. Like why, like all these car brands that have gone in the past, could some of them potentially come back?
Yeah.
And because obviously Triumph are still technically making money on the motorcycles and things.
Yeah.
Palm a little bit off and put it into another car. You could share parts from somebody else to get going.
That's what I mean. Yeah, if you need to need a lending hand, maybe figure it out. You can figure it out.
For the money, someone will do it.
Someone might sell them an engine, and
the thing is, they could go to
think Morgan, for example. They now have the BMW straight six.
But I think they could go to an independent engine maker like Cosworth or something.
Yeah, like TVR have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go down the Cosworth route because they used to be fast little sports cars.
Yeah.
So if you put like a smaller version in, maybe it could even be a 4-cylinder if they're lightweight enough, like an MX-5.
Yeah, I agree.
Like an MX-5 rival.
Well, it's more than that as well, though. I think if you went to Cosworth as well, you are appealing to that market who want a Triumph back.
Yeah. Because
Cosworth is another one of those skunk works, if you like, that obviously the type of people who would want to buy a Triumph also like Cosworth.
Yeah,
so you're going to do all right.
Yeah, they'd remember like the Sierra Cosworths and your Escort Cosworths and
it's
things
not
like that.
Exactly. It's not a bad shout with TVR teaming up with them, is it?
No. Well, I think one last one, which is probably most of the younger audience if are listening and probably would remember, is Saab.
Yeah.
Now it was a shame to see Saab go. I loved their cars.
The reason I love Saab is because they offered something different, and there is something to be respected about that. That's why I like Volvo as well.
Yeah. Well, the main reason I respect Saab a lot, I know they came from making jets and things like that, which is why all their adverts never made any sense.
No.
But they did what any good car maker did. It wasn't great for money, but they were owned by GM and they were given a car platform. The first one I think was the Vectra.
Yeah, they were Vauxhall platforms.
They were like, right, here you are. Here's a Vectra. Just change the body, like the bodywork on it. So they went and changed literally everything.
And you know what? I genuinely do respect them for that. As in, they had an attention to safety.
Yeah, that Vauxhall didn't.
Yeah, but they had standards that they wanted to upkeep, whatever the cost, apparently.
Yeah.
And obviously, they're no longer around with us. And I think it's removed something from the car industry that has made it more the same.
Yeah. But again, they are in the similar sort of boat because Saab is technically still going because they make trucks. They make the Scania trucks.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure they still do make the Swedish jets.
So the point is, they're not coming back from absolutely nothing.
No, but the car section of the business was owned by, like say, GM, and I think they were then bailed out by a Chinese company.
They were bailed out by someone, and it didn't really work out.
No, which it is a shame. But their cars, they took the Vauxhall, they made them a car you might actually want to buy. Yeah. Obviously, nobody did. But for me personally, I'd have taken a Saab 9.3 over a Vectra.
Oh, gotcha. Me too. Yeah.
I hate the Vectra. Well, it's not doesn't exist anymore, but I hated it when it was around.
Yeah.
The Insignia is not so bad. I quite like the new one.
Yes.
But one of them things, isn't it? It's each to personal preference.
Yep, I agree.
So is there any more that you think you'd like to see come back?
Marcos is obviously on that. Now, for our younger viewers, obviously, you may not know Marcos
but well, they did try and make a comeback a few years ago.
They did.
They made that sort of... it looked like a TVR.
No, it was... And I loved it. It was a proper sort of transatlantic type. Big engine up front, rear-wheel drive. Gorgeous body.
Yes.
Like, gorgeous body. Just didn't work out.
Yeah, the interior's so small that a human couldn't really fit in it. But that's what makes them good and unique.
Lock my head off and get me in there.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I think I think more your legs.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Take what you need. It's fine.
Yeah.
So Marcos, and obviously with their racing pedigree and things like that, it would be fantastic to see them back on track and on the road. So they're probably my last selection for.
For that one. I think I would agree with you there. I'd like to see that come back. So it's a nice way to round that off. I think we'll end it there. Obviously, thank you for tuning in and listening again, and we look forward to listening to you next week. I've got all the links below to the social media things, the Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. If you want to go check us out, ask us any questions, we will respond and answer to you. And obviously, if it's we'll answer them on the podcast, should you need. So again, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again next week for episode 2 of season 2.
No problems. Thanks, guys.